first first episode of the psychology of
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's crazy.
episode 1, creative media. All right.
I like the
Man,
psychology of it. Could be anything.
man, this has been a long road.
Yeah, we've been actually having this conversation. You said episode 1. I'm like, that doesn't even touch on.
How long have we been talking about this for?
Actively 3 years.
So
and I'm only basing that because I've been at my job for like 3 years.
okay,
And I've been sneaking to do this.
So first of all, I'm gonna talk to the cameras now. We want to welcome you to the media studio here in the FAMU library. Brought to you by partnership of Department of Psychology.
X Sounds over here.
X Sounds, RJ. What's your company, RJ?
Nanuco Digital.
Nanuco Digital. We've been having conversations about media and production.
That's access.
Right, for years. And it's finally come to fruition in an actual studio for right now. And this is like our first step. And we're like, well, let's get this conversation on camera that we've been talking about, and we'll progress through it because we're always learning as we go, and our conversation is always steadily evolving. So that's kind of like a little backstory to show you where we are right now.
Yeah.
And today we're going to start with a couple questions. Each of us gets 2 questions, and we're going to just start this series off. It's going to be multiple parts, but this is the first episode. So let's kick it away. We just want to start with that first question.
Yeah. I'll start. So this is a question that's been on my heart and kind of like influences a lot of things that I do. So to ask you, or to put on the table, what is creative media and how has it influenced your role in modern society?
So for me, my definition of creative media has changed since I met you.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm a creative person at all, in all honesty. I don't think I'm creative at all. I am good at like analyzing and breaking things down and reassembling, but coming up with just the way creative people see things, like, we could just do this. And I'm like, this. And I'm like, where'd you get that from? And they're like, oh, you don't see it? I'm like, no. But once they show it to me, I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. That meant somebody is seeing this while the rest of us is just seeing a plant. They're like, no, that's a building. No, it's a plant. They're like, no, it's a building. And then when they show it to you, you're like, oh my God, it's a building. I would say, to me, coming from a background in psychology, I would say creative media is someone taking an ideal in an indirect way. When I think of creative, it's not taking the norm, not showing the obvious. I think, for instance, we were talking about a hospital.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to show the hospital. And what if you didn't show the hospital? You show people outside of the hospital. You show kids playing around at a park, enjoying life, and then cut to the hospital and says, when you do everything right, this is how it should look. So you're not selling the hospital. You're selling them getting out of the hospital. That's brilliant. I'm like, whoever thought of this is like, they see the bigger picture instead of getting locked into a box. And that's another way.
And using the media to sell that picture. Because I feel like outside of that media being like shared with the public, you would skip the channel.
Right.
Or move on. You wouldn't even pay attention to it, but it forces you to connect.
Right. So, for instance, the last Super Bowl, everybody's talking about the Kendrick Lamar, but really what hit the audience was the military commercial or the insurance commercial?
I think it was insurance.
What was coming home for the soldiers coming back home? Now, we could be saying this wrong.
Yeah.
But that commercial resonated with so many people, and it was almost back to an old way of doing commercials and advertising.
Yeah.
But for some reason,
emotional connection.
Right. We don't think that. We've gotten all flashy with everything, and we forget.
And I think the tempo was like slower.
Right.
Commercials too.
It wasn't big over the top like a Marvel production.
Cameos and like big names. Yeah.
But I don't know, with this concept of creative media is, I also think just thinking outside the box. Going against the grain, or instead of even going in a pattern, creating a pattern. That's how I see it. So,
and to complement that, to your point of the hospital, I think creative media for me within modern society is definitely influenced by passion. I like the fact that you mentioned that taking something that nobody else sees and you're kind of making something out of it. And I recently had an experience where I was recording someone who was doing a mural, and within that space, I was seeing creative media, even like my creative media was seeing his creative media being like this mural on this blank wall. and he's like seeing the spacing and the lines and the face and where the guitar is gonna be, and like I'm not seeing any of this until I am, and by that time he's already drawn it out, and I just thought that was a great way to bring two mediums together. So meaning my creative being digital video, his creative being mural, paint, art based. And I think creative media is the passion that brings those two things together. So I mean, like you mentioned, things that might not necessarily go together, but we're motivated by passion to get it through, get my point across, to showcase my skill set based off what I have. So it comes from a place of resourcefulness. I think my creativity was definitely birthed in me being resourceful. Sewing was my first creative outlet, and it came from a birthplace of growing up. Didn't really have the funds to change out clothes as often as you would like, but I could put a little patch on this, customize this, put these two things together, and now everybody's like, instead of saying, "Oh, he got a hole in his pants," you got, "Oh man, this man got like this artwork on his pants." And artwork, oh okay, I can get away with this.
Right. Switching the boundaries.
Right.
I think you said something interesting when you said watching your media meet his media.
Yeah.
Your creative and his creative. Watching how artists can look at a blank canvas and sketch everything out in their mind. I've seen that with you, and I'm just with shout outs right now. You and Carlos and Tangi, Vernon, Markeisha, Smooth, watching them point at things and being able to see the finished product before they started shooting. They're like, I want to get coming in at an angle, and when you look at it through this way and coming over the shoulder. And I'm sitting there like, what? And I'm like, what are y'all looking at? And then you look at it, like I'm having to learn how to look at things through a lens, and then being able to see, just like I'll watch you just pan across things, and I'm just pan here, and then when you see the finished product, you're like, all that panning turned into something amazing. You hear me? I mean, something amazing.
Yeah.
Something just as simple as this led to this cinematic moment, and I'm like, I didn't see that at all. And
oh yeah, you going back because that was like how it started. Oh.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm a complete novice to all this. I'm learning as I go. It started with something in church during COVID, talking to RJ, and I'm having to arrange my mind in a way to see things. The problem now is I see this stuff and I'm watching TV and movies.
Yeah.
I tell Markeisha all the time that they've ruined me.
Because you breaking them down.
Yeah,
you seen the hair was on this side?
Right. Why didn't y'all finish with the makeup? Like the makeup stopped too early. I can see the separation, or the plot line doesn't add up, or the cinematography doesn't match the screenwriting in them. And I'm learning all this, and it's putting me in a crazy place because I'm like, there's people that live like this.
But I feel like before I knew all of that stuff, though, I was more creative. Because I was just like, but now I know so much that it's like,
But that might be one of the issues. So one of our big debates is he is the creative one, and I call myself the logic one. I'm thinking about how this is, and you know what this might really be? You're the director or the writer, and I would be an executive producer that keeps the film from going over the top.
Yeah.
So one of the things is, can too much structure stifle the creative process? Like you said, you might have been more creative before you started learning all the structure.
Yeah.
So somebody coming out the box, like an artist not having formal training, is their artwork more creative than someone that then went through formal training? Or
I think it's more risk, not more creative. But they're willing to take a risk a little. I don't want to say more, easier.
No, that I can see that. Because
it's the like structure I'm just gonna make
limits your willing to take a risk, and that willing to take a risk, the greater the risk, the higher the payoff.
Right.
So even with a project, if you're pitching a project or a movie,
I'm like, what camera you shot it on? Because Netflix, it was Netflix approved.
So what was the movie with Denzel Washington's son?
Creator? No, was it Creator?
It might have been Creators. I'm going to shoot the movie with FX3.
Yeah.
And you're like, you had to pitch that to a company, to a studio. They'd be like, so you want to shoot with a FX3, like a semi-pro camera? It's a wonderful camera now.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. We got FX30s all around. But instead of an Ari or a Venice.
What we see within this skill set, within this profession.
And the crazy part was when I saw the behind the scenes, they showed the camera shooting in low light. They didn't have to run lights at night. They could literally just use the settings on the camera and shoot in the dark, and it looks like they have lights. And I'm like, how much did that save on production?
And I wondered, did that come from a place of like innovative, like I just want to do it in this thing, or a place of I want to get some creative shots, and I don't want there to be this overhead price of having to have this special equipment to carry it to get the shots. Like I'm
Right.
curious at where that came from.
Or what if it's, again, if we treat it like structure, what if that constant structure, this is how it's done, this is how we do it, has stopped people from really looking at other options
Yeah.
and taking that risk on a different type of camera? Or, and now you're saying people build cameras.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're taking hybrids, they're taking a sensor from this, a body from this, another person's writing software and combining it. Like, all right, I got what I've been looking for, versus having to spend, $100,000. For those that buy equipment, you know what we're talking
Yeah.
about. But what I'm curious about, actually, no, we're gonna get into tangent. We're gonna go to one of these questions to make sure we kind of stay in line, because this could be a forever ever conversation. Now, what's crazy is all of a sudden my phone is locked up
Hey.
on the images, so I couldn't
I
even
know.
pull the
I
questions
know
up.
something I want to get into. How can creative media enhance learning and education?
Right. So part of this whole studio thing is us also venturing into. First, before I say that, since it's the first episode, I got to do it justice. This came about because I had a mentor named Dr. Ola, who's a professor of mine here at Florida A&M University, the highest of 7 hills, the best university in the land.
Yeah.
And when he transitioned, I was like, I have no videos of him teaching. I have no, unless you had him for a class, there's no real proof that he was here except for the people that had him. So I was like, we should document professors. And then it turned into, well, if we're documenting professors and the accomplishments of students, why not enhance the way we teach? Give you a space where you can come in and record lectures. Then we were like, well, what if we got creative with the lectures? And that's what we're working on now, is moving with the times and becoming innovative with the concept of AI as well.
Mm-hmm.
How to be creative in giving people information, because again, the attention span now is shorter than it's ever been, because you get social media thrown at you in just seconds, clips, bursts.
And there's no way around it. I feel like you could know that and still fall victim to it, because what else? I mean, watching Netflix, you're binging it to get
right,
just for you to get back to your phone. You're still scrolling and swiping really
right.
fast.
Or you watching Netflix and they're looking at your phone at the same time. But then you want a student to sit through an hour or 2 hour in grad school, it's like 2 hour lecture.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, for online students, is there a way to make this interesting? And I really think you can blur the lines between cinematic and creative social media and teaching and learning. I think you can blend them all together.
I definitely do. I feel like that's what I love about the TikTok University thing, when that happened with the whole Hampton. What was it? I can't even think of what it is right now. Hillman University.
Yeah.
But basically, it was like the trending Black TikTok, where the professor was just sharing her information, her lesson on TikTok platform, and the whole world, it ended up going viral. People was tuning in, trying to get the book, trying to figure out, ask follow-up questions, and that kind of drove the force behind people wanting to learn even outside of the schoolhouse. Like these are just regular people that just want to continue their education, and it was accessible through that creative media. She was just sharing that information. So I think creative media can be done to that regard in the classroom the same way. So you're teaching the class on intro to psychology, and I'm like, yeah, it's great. And I have so many things I want to say. Hearing you speak is motivational, but then I kind of leave the classroom, I do the assignment, and I leave it alone, versus challenging me to now share that little bit of thing that I learned today in class on my social media platform in my own words in a minute and 30-second video would be a great way, I would think, if I was within the education field. I would have my class do those things as assignments. And the challenge within that space would be to use their voice, where they are now, as scholars, we're in college, to kind of drive the needle back home.
Gotcha. I can understand that.
That would be my connection between, and it's a version of what you all were doing or what we're doing within COVID when we were still going to school hybrid.
Right.
But it's just using I think hybrid school online versus in person is different, but the creative media would be the connection of like, okay, educational, we do got to learn, and I'm motivated to learn, have a conversation, but the class is only an hour, 15 minutes.
Right.
So using the media to kind of keep the conversation going, I might find my passion in bring it. I know one of the things I learned. So I actually had you as a professor. I feel like I'm skipping.
Shout out.
Yeah, so I actually had you as an intro professor, and I remember the conversations that we would have in class would go on like we didn't have enough time.
Right.
And I think taking that experience and applying it to the creative media is like, okay, well, now we have this podcast aspect of everybody wants to talk, connect, have those conversations, and encouraging students to still have those conversations as an assignment. Pick one of the topics would be a great way to integrate creative media within the education system and learning development. And I think we can do it before somebody's making us do it.
Right.
Because I know I would do it.
Right. And it makes sense because there's a couple ways to look at it is, again, there's that structure thing. This is how you teach. This is how you lecture. This is how school's done. This is how university, K through 12. K through 12 is a little bit more adventurous, but university, they're just now starting to open up the creative ideal. And depending on what your major is and what you're lecturing in. But that concept of extending the conversation outside of class. I always adored Dr. Ola because our conversations continued outside of class for months and years. We would keep talking about whatever was going on. And I had another classmate named Felipe. Shout out to Felipe Williams. We would get into it all the time with Dr. Ola. We debate things, and he would always have us thinking outside the box, looking at things through a different set of eyes. Did you look at all the variables? Did you analyze everything? Or did you just immediately go with what everybody goes with and you just argue that point? With this thinking outside the box of creative media, continuing that conversation outside of class. And what's really interesting is hearing your student's voice. Because in undergrad, I had a student from New York that kind of gave me like a little lecture after class because I was a little upset in class about the way everybody was talking about things. And I was getting frustrated. And he sat me down after class and he gave me a speech. The speech was in a way that it resonated so much with me that it low-key changed me in the way I view the world because the way he said it. And I'm like, had anybody else said this except him, I don't think it would have resonated with me and it would have had that effect on me. So then I'm wondering how many people might fall in this same blanket. You never know who. I always tell people, you never know who's actually listening to you. So you assume that nobody's paying attention to you.
Yeah.
But in reality, there might be somebody that will only listen to you.
Yeah.
They're just waiting on you to say something. So taking this conversation that we have in class, like even in my class, I like students to talk. I like them to have a voice. I want them to work through their ideals because I was done that way. I was treated that way. And you feel like you learn more. So if you take students and extend these assignments where they're having their own podcasts as assignments, having them talk through videos or create content on that subject, you get to hear their voice. Their voice may resonate with a whole different group of people.
Yep. And I know you don't, and I keep emphasizing not having enough time in class because you have 30, what's the class?
It's like 45 minutes or hour and 15 or 2.5. You meet once a week.
And then how many students?
Oh, it could be anywhere from 30 to,
and
some class 2,000.
I know I was reserved because it's like, I grew up modest, humble. I'm trying to get out of that now within this digital space. I'm trying, no, man, I do this. But during that time, I was modest and humble. So when it came to like my voice, I was new in college. I was just discovering that saying, not that I didn't say no, that I could say something that and not be scared of somebody's opinion. So having that space within the creative media would force me as a quiet person who has all this personality, but nobody would know because I'm just sitting in the back taking my notes, doing my thing, and I have so many thoughts related to the topic. That would give me an opportunity to say, okay, man, like, dang, this is deep. Take it back home and have a conversation with my mom about how the fact that she used to get mad that we whistled in the house, and why is that? And she like, oh, I don't know. My mom told me not to whistle in the house, and like that could just open up this whole thing within my space. That's like, I don't got to pay for therapy if I can go home and have these conversations.
Right, and expanding on that, thinking about students who are introverts or shy. You might be able to work through your thoughts and ideas through a video better than you could speaking in front of everybody. But that may help you open up to then be able to speak in front of a crowd.
Yep.
Some people don't shine until they come before the lights and the cameras. Because when we sat down, we were like,
yeah.
And we do this, but for me, I definitely on this side of the camera. I'm behind the screens and
I do get in front, but not at this quality. Typically, I have to sacrifice the quality because I'm talent.
Right.
So I got to turn off the production mind. But this is definitely new for me too.
So even for those, and this is for everybody from intellectuals to content creators to people who are exploring, even for those that are seasoned, the concept of you being a talent versus also being a production side. My mind always thinks production first. It doesn't think about being the talent and then having a different mindset when you're the talent. So he talks about that a lot, like switching, taking off my talent hat, putting on my production hat. Is there a way to do both at the same time? Is it better for somebody that does both, thinking as the talent, as a creative? Because as the talent, you want to convey a certain message, and as the behind the scenes, the technician, right? But you want that message to come across. So, like literally before we start, we were talking about the height of the camera, the lens, the zoom in,
the lap,
right? Whether we do look, my knees is out right here. He's like, "Well, I'm gonna zoom in on you on a social media shot." I'm like, I didn't even think about that. I'm thinking, wow, I got to show my knees, but I mean, the thing is working through all this,
and that goes back to what we were saying about it taking longer,
right?
So is it better? It's value in it. I won't say it's not better. There is a lot of value in knowing the ropes. I'm familiar with doing. I used to be a coach, so when I started boxing, I'm familiar with like some of the coachings. So with the production and talent, there is a value in knowing both sides. And this going to really segue into me starting Creators, the organization, because there you get exhausted. You get burnt out a lot faster when you're trying to navigate both, because you cannot pour. And you get on to me about this a lot too. You can't put your whole into anything because you split amongst
20 different jobs.
Yeah, like what do you want to be? Like, oh man, I want to be a filmmaker and an actor. That's literally two different tracks, but you can do both.
Right, and you're seeing people. You see actors transition to directors and writers, but there's only a small handful that do both. That both act and direct at the same time. It's usually one or the other. It works out more efficient to be one or the other.
Yeah. So that's and that's the same thing within this regard. So I actually started Creators Multimedia Group because I wanted to find other people who were also eating, is what I would refer to it as, like who were also eating within their passion, blindly doing things that they wanted to do, and felt like, oh man, I don't have anybody that would record me. I'd be the recorder, man. I don't mind stepping back and shining a light. Because I love the accountability. I love the relationship between the two, I mentioned earlier, the two mediums. I think it's such a beautiful thing when you have somebody that sings and somebody that dance, and they come together and be like, hey, can you dance in the back, like dance while I sing to help me amp up my production? I think that's a beautiful thing, and I can't emphasize it enough, because we don't really see it. We see it a lot now at the larger scale, collaborative posts. But at the local scale, I think we missed the opportunity because, only got this many followers. Or me personally, I'm like, is it a Netflix? I want to shoot a short film. But then I'm thinking about whereas I would just do it with my phone and used to have so much great flow and have fun with it. Now I'm like, yeah, but it's not Netflix approved camera. And I feel like, oh, my FX30 ain't going to do it. I got to hit up somebody else to.
So even taking that, I worked with another former FAMU alumni, guy named Smooth, and they were shooting independent film on campus. I said, "Well, I got gear." They're like, "What?" I'm like, "You want to use it?" They're like, "Yeah." And I'm great because I like to learn. I'm a movie fanatic. I love movie and television. I always have. So I always have a soft spot for media. But watching them, we went through all the training with the equipment and watching them set up. I understood that. But when I actually started watching them shoot, I was like, oh my God, there's so much involved in a 10-second clip of a movie. And between the director and the cameraman and the lighting and the amount of people moving around is just doing other things like the scenes and sets. And I'm like, my God, this is a creative avenue, but it's rooted in structure and logic.
Yeah.
You got to have a system for all this to flow.
And that's a production day.
Right.
That's not even before they even.
Right. No, we had days where we met to just go over equipment. So, and then the day of, and I'm like, I think they shot like a 5 to 10 minute section of the movie, and it took an entire day. But just seeing things like that, and I think on the lower end, what we were talking about a little bit earlier was getting all of us together. Something like a creative summit is taking the people who are like, well, you're interested in this, and well, you do photography, you do video.
Yeah.
I have gear. Can we all work together? Or, especially if you aren't, especially when this is really for people that are just starting. It's even more prevalent because you don't have the system yet.
Yeah.
You don't have the funds or the team. You just have the passion and the ideal.
Yes.
So I like tech. I have equipment, but I don't have any ideals sometimes. So running into a RJ or a Markeisha, they have these ideals and these plans. I'm like, that is amazing. And then it might help me to figure out if I have a vision of something I want to do. They give me the structure of how to put it together.
Yeah.
So something like having a studio in honor of my mentor, Dr. Ola, where you can come in and document these amazing people.
I was about to say document.
Right. And this concept of just getting these amazing
people
in front of the camera. Right.
Not just for your, for the school, I think being a historian, being a documentarian, that was my first reasoning for getting into film.
I didn't even know
storytelling.
That.
My kids. My oldest son is 10 years old. And before then, I was always in the creative. I said sewing, design, Adobe, photography. But I was just doing it because it just was cool to escape. It was my escape. Making something out of nothing was my escape. But having my son was where I was like, dang, this man is like 0 right now. He's like 2 months. He's not going to remember this.
Said 0.
Yeah, he's not going to remember this. I need to, in addition to learning how to cut hair and get that fade right before I had to go to the barbershop, pay whatever X amount of dollars. I was like, I want to start documenting these things. And I was documenting them just like what they sound like in the traditional vlog sense. Shared them with family. They loved it. And as I kept doing it, the skill kind of developed. I realized I was doing that more than I was sleeping. I was just I would want to.
So
what are you doing?
You think your passion evolved out of that, or it was?
I created that too. I created that as
it was there. You just
it was the only way I could document. It was the only way I could document. Photography wasn't gonna hit the needle like I wanted, because I want him to be able to look at this Disney World trip, be like, oh man, we went to Disney World.
Let me tell you what's something interesting. I've done events with families, like family reunions, and there's families that document everything. Mm-hmm. And when they go back, they can show you the history of their family.
Yeah.
For hundreds of years and centuries. And they have pictures and clips. They're 130 years old. Yes. And you're like, I might have 2 or 3 pictures of me as a kid, and I just have memories. But not being able to show those memories, and I didn't even think about when we came through college in the early 2000s, if we had camera phones and just filmed stuff and just... So when we talk about what was like at fam then, it's like you lucky somebody might have had a camera, right? So you could see it.
Pattyfoot is my equivalent.
Right.
Because I was here when Pattyfoot was here, and that was a big staple to FAMU. So now that it's gone, and if I was to go to
and I was in Gibbs, so neither one of our dorms are here now. You're just like, we were right here. I met my first friends on the porch of here. You talking about this grass there? I was a building. But when we look at something like the Creator Summit, hearing story, and I know it sounds like we're kind of all over the place, but in reality, this is us working through up to this point.
We haven't had a chance to sit down, and do this,
right? And this is the first part.
Much. It's so much, and so many things we talked about already that had backstories. Right. So you was talking about the panning, and the panning. The first video I did as it relates to this project and being on FAMU campus came after we was meeting on campus regularly. I was full-time entrepreneur within my filmmaking digital media space, and I would meet you regularly on campus, and you would be meeting circles, plugging in these ideas within your circles, and I would just be on campus fiddling with my thumbs in a sense. And I know one day I was just like, you know what, we've been talking about this thing, and I didn't have as much knowledge. I would say I credit this that I didn't have as much knowledge as I do now then, and what could go wrong, but. We was talking about it and had so many ideas. And while you was planting those seeds, I was like, you know what? Let me show them. He's going to plant these seeds, but he's not. We don't have nothing to really.
This is where the video came from.
Yeah, this is where the video came from. So I was like, you know what? We've been talking about what it looks like, and we can't really. We're using all these inspo from other people. So I went out to the quad, just watched, paid attention to what's going on, and I just seen I was moved by what was happening. I was like, let me just capture these clips.
Right. And I'm talking to him while he's doing this. I see him filming, but I'm not my mind, I don't understand anything at this point either. Why he's doing this?
Yes. I don't like panning on people's feet, and I'm not. I'm trying to be mindful of people's spaces because we don't have approval, or it was, it's an iffy kind of thing. But my focus, my passion at the time was creating something that we could then, okay, show the people that don't know what creative media or digital media, why would that be important, is something. And that's really where we were talking earlier when we were talking about panning and panning up. Like that literally came from that experience, and that was just like the birth of trying, just doing it
But
without
no,
any
no,
okay.
wait, now he's leaving out some major parts of this. This is the before you have the structure and you're just being creative. He
Yes.
shoots me a video. I'm looking at this video and I'm like, yo, bruh. I didn't sent the
He
video
didn't
to
even
my
say
chair.
anything.
I just shown the dean. I'm showing everybody this because just the look of it, and it's like I think 15 seconds
Seconds, yeah,
long.
15 seconds.
The look of it was just
Yeah, we have to find it.
it was somewhere crazy, but that kind of started everything because again, the same thing with the studio. You can talk to you blue in the face about an ideal. There's nothing like physically seeing something.
Yeah. What they call it? Spec work now? Like it was like
Yeah,
a commercial
old school
spec.
be storyboarding.
Yeah.
Like
Okay. Yeah.
I was just talking to Markeisha about like how do you create storyboards? Because I want to show somebody an image or show somebody kind of like a visual representation of the script who may not be able to understand what we're doing. I can see it now because I see everything in movie form. So I just play it like a movie in my mind. But some stuff I don't see. So some scripts I'm looking at, I'm like, I can't follow this.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, you got to see the storyboard, or they have to walk me through it. And when they walk you through the scenes, you're like, oh, that's amazing. I just found out, I don't know, just scrolling through social media, they were talking about why TV shows use multiple directors versus the same director. They were like, if it's in a studio, they use the same director. If it's a moving
Seeing
TV
multiple
show
scenes or something. Oh, okay.
where you're like moving around a town or a city, you got to have multiple directors. So while you're filming an episode, the next director is out scouting locations and planning camera angles and sites. They said you wouldn't be able to do that on a 24 episode TV show if it was just one director.
Yeah.
There's not enough time.
Yeah.
So you then hand from your episode off to their episode. So when we look at the video that he shot and filmed, that kind of opened a lot of people's eyes. And I'm like,
I remember being so nervous when you got back with me, like, hey, I've been pubbing the video. I've been showing people the video. I'm like, the video that I shared with you, I'll just share that with you so you can, so we could just be in agreement to know, like, hey, we ain't crazy. This thing could actually be something. And he then took the video, shared it like all these people. And me personally was like, oh, did I do it right?
Creative person.
I do it right?
I'm gonna tell you what's interesting. During our Imhotep student conference that we just had in the spring, we had Will Packer here.
Yes.
And this talk with Will Packer, who's writing his book, him talking about the amount of time it took to get these movies made.
Yeah.
You did the video 2 years ago before this studio.
True.
But that little clip video led to this studio.
Yeah.
He said it took 10 years to make a movie from the ideal to actual making the movie. He was like 15 years to this, 10 years to this, 10 years to this, 7 years to this. I'm sitting there like, I don't feel so bad now.
Yeah.
Because it seems like forever ago, but there's always a starting point. So
and sticking to it is a big part of it too.
Right. And one of the things that we're interesting in is this combination between logic and creative. How do you take a creative concept and make it into a tangible thing?
That's a hurdle.
Right.
I've gotten better at it. So I feel like now my strategy is like first dumping it out, like working through the creative aspect. Why is it creative? Why do I like it? Have I seen it in LA or have I seen it being a trending thing? And a perfect example is like coffee parties. I'm trying to plan my fundraising events for the 2026 physical year for creators to raise money. And I was like, okay, I see a lot of coffee parties happen, these day party, midday, Saturday events. And I'm like, that would be something that's a creative thing that I would like to do. Like, that'd be fun. And I'm also like, okay, well, how can I make that logical? How can I make that sustainable? And I'm like, okay, well, let me start putting together a pitch or a pitch deck and the sponsorship tiers. So then when I am going to people and I'm talking to them, I can get them to pledge X amount.
Right.
And now I have the pledge amount, and I'm like, pledging is just like saying you're gonna do it. And then once I have enough budget to get it started, I'm like, okay, let me go ahead and execute on this creative thing that I would be passionate to produce anyway. But my strategy is to raise money so I could, support
Right.
my nonprofit or support
Right.
this initiative. And I think that's what I've learned from you, to take the creativity, which takes me longer, but I get a lot further within that month's time. So taking that creative, being inspired, easily inspired, ambitious, uh, obsessive at times, and then taking it and adding that structure, corporate structure to it, say like, okay, how are these? How is this homecoming? That's a good example. How is this homecoming carpe diem thing really
Right.
happening? Oh, they have sponsors. They have this.
Right.
They have
Shout out
that.
Aaron, Carpe
Yeah,
Diem.
they have these things happening, and like being exposed to those things allow me to take that creativity, see the vision of the corporate or the structure, and kind of merge them together to say like, okay, yeah, I don't have millions of dollars, but I do have a lot of people that love to have a good time, or that support, or that sees what I'm doing because they can see us on social media, and they believe in that their donation or the contribution is going to be used a perfect cause. So to answer your question, that's how I turn my creative media into something tangible or structured, or like bringing it to reality. And that's kind of what I've done on so many different scales through this experience, and also with the Creator Summit too.
Right. So now, and if you don't know this, he's pointing out other major aspects. A Creator Summit works by having these different people in the same room. Having RJ, having talked to RJ, met RJ, the way I see things, visualize. So instead of just building a set or shooting something, thinking of that artistic way, the way to really bring out this message or put it in a way that's attractive. Same thing, having someone like me that's logical, having someone like Aaron and Carpe Diem and his boys.
Yeah.
The idea of thinking about sponsorship and structure and networking and corporate, having, because okay, and really what this stems from is knowing your strengths and your weaknesses.
Yeah.
What are you good at? What are you not good at? And then are you comfortable talking to people where that's their strength? I always tell people, RJ, bar none, far more creative than I could ever be. I have to talk to someone like him. Same thing with Markeisha. We'll have her on here at a point too.
Yes.
Some of the people we're
She
talking
actually gonna
about.
be hosting the Creative Summit.
Right. She'll
I'm
be at the
excited about
Creative
that.
Summit.
I'm excited.
And thinking about this, having these different talents. We got another friend named Vez.
Yes. L Smooth.
L Smooth.
Yes.
So some of the stuff he does, I tell this to his face. I'm like, why are you doing that? And then sometimes I look at him, I'm like, oh, there's a whole group of people that see this and they're like, they're into this. And I'm like, I just didn't see it. And I'm sitting there like, I mean, how many things I missed out on because I didn't have a L Smooth
soundboard
vision.
I'm about to say like a soundboard of people to say like, okay, and that's what I love about having multiple people, because it's like, okay, I know you're great at the structure, the logical, like,
right,
and I'm good at creative. Like, it's just so crazy I might do it. So when y'all can stay in my creative lane and you can stay in your structure lane, I feel so much more comfortable into going into a meeting or going into a project, because I can stay in my lane and I can dominate within this space, and I can trust that you dominate within your space. And as we in this project together, we gonna kill it. To me, it's no room. It's like if something happens, you accounted for it by making sure it was taped down, and I accounted for it by the fact of, okay, if it does happen, we're gonna make it into a joke. We're gonna spin it and play on to it. We're gonna use that as a clickbait to get people to see that the camera fell. Oh my gosh, like that's the opening shot. Like how that's my creative mind taking that same thing that happened.
We panic like, oh my God, the camera fell. They're like, no, that's a creative way to introduce a shot.
We gonna work with it.
We're falling into success. You're like, what? There's a whole campaign now about that?
Check it out. I can see it.
But also the neat part about this is, in talking to people, with your strengths and your weaknesses, it helps you grow, it helps you evolve.
Yes.
Also, look, I'm bad about criticizing. I think that's my skill set. I can tear everything down to the bare bones, the nuts and bolts. But
it's so cold.
I'm trying to do it in a way that isn't negative, but it shows you, be prepared for all the things that could happen. Find out where your weaknesses are, strengthen those up, because the goal is to make you a better person, a better product.
Yeah.
Also not losing yourself when you
True.
go into a world. Like, how do creative people go into the music world or the movie world and not lose themselves or be told that there's a system for making you a hit record? You know, your creative way doesn't work. I've seen some artists, they do the big arena tours to fulfill that corporate machine, and then they do a secondary tour for smaller markets in which they do more creative remixes, things like that, where they get a chance to have fun and enjoy the music aspect, keeping that balance. And again, something like a creator summit, putting these people all in the room and talking these things out. You got people in there that have experience, people that are new to the game.
Yeah.
This
That's a experience, new to game, and then it's like all continuing education. I
right,
think that's the underlying. I know a lot of people say, "Who's the Creator Summit for?" And I'm like, influencers, content creators, social media professionals, digital media professionals, business owners, those that need help with marketing, those that want somebody to do it with them, those that want somebody to do it for them. And in essence, all it is saying that the underlying similarity between everybody is like we're here to learn, like we're here to continue to grow, to continue to invest in ourselves, and we want to do it here in Tallahassee. We want to bring people here to Tallahassee to say, hey, Tallahassee is the largest social media conference, social media festival experience in North Florida, South Georgia. Be here because we have more to offer than football and homecomings.
right.
We're doing a lot of other things too. I want to be innovative. We're the capital of Florida, and I want people to look at the capital of Florida and see innovation coming out of there. And we have a lot of successful things. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But the Creator Summit is my version of doing that within the creative media, digital media space.
Right. And nothing to look at for all you business owners. In this era, social media can change your business from small to an empire off of one video, one TikTok, one clip. So don't be afraid to go and check out Creator Summit, get in a room for these creative people, because that person might be your next big campaign, your next big advertising, taking your company and showing the world what it could be. Because I mean, I just think about foodies.
Yeah.
If I go to certain cities, I'll just type in that city and foodie on the end of it as a hashtag and look at all the restaurants. There are restaurants right now I have on my list that I've never been to, that I can't. It's one pizza joint that I think's in Vegas. They got a couple, and it's one in Toronto. I can't wait to go there and eat, because every time I see their videos, I just like, why does this pizza look so much better than every other pizza? Yeah. Or you think about Barstool with Dave Portnoy. Yep. All he's got to do is go in, try your pizza, and give it an 8 point something, 8 or above, or 7 or above, depending on what type it is. All of a sudden, you can't keep up with the business. So clearly, this social media thing has a massive impact on business.
Yeah, so it has so much power, so much flexibility, and it's not something to be intimidated by. It's more so something to grab a hold of, especially if you are a business owner, and then if you're a creative that's just don't want to do it for fun. Within the Creative Summit, we also nurturing a sense of accountability, a sense of community. Like we want to just hang out. We want to just go to the fair. We had a creative meetup at the fair earlier that was last year.
I know how to work.
Yeah, we had a creative meetup at the fair, and that was just us hanging out with our cameras, and like people really gravitated to us more because we all clicked up with the FX30s and the 7.3s, and it was just a great experience. And that was the nurturing part of the community of creatives that didn't really, we're just trying to have fun.
So again, there's that combination of the right people. Someone thinking that we can still have fun while doing this. Yeah. We don't have to be so business oriented or structured. You can enjoy yourself, learn, evolve, and grow, and overall just become a better person. And again, this Creator Summit that we're gearing up for it, I'm excited because RJ's made me excited. And now that I'm in this world of creating social media and creating media in general, I like being around people. I want to learn more. I want to see what it can be, what it can do. Because one neat thing about this avenue is that you have a finished product that you can look at and you're like, I was a part of that.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. So I remember our first podcast we recorded in here. It turned out just far better than I thought. And I'm like, how is this better than I thought? And I'm the one that filmed it, but you just never know, because until you see it, it blows my mind.
And the inspiration that comes out of it, because I know people seen that video, it was like, oh, like I have no excuse. Like they
Right.
felt like their goals was that much closer because like I have no excuse. I know somebody personally. It's not like intimidating going to a studio. I
Right.
don't have to feel like I have to be an expert in all the cameras, all the things. I could just have the idea and pitch it to somebody that could then bring it to life, because that's exactly it. You're showing me what I want to do as a podcast idea, as a video.
Right.
So I think that's the beauty of you doing that thing and then being able to show somebody else, and you might just think it's a thing,
Right.
and that person's completely inspired by it, completely blown away. And I had those out of body experiences a lot because I'm 31, and I say that with that tone on purpose because it's like I have to remind myself that I'm not my target audience. And what I mean by that is, as I'm curating experiences for those that are coming up, that I can give them a leg up that I didn't have. So meaning someone within my space might be someone that's already said, "Nah, I'm not going to worry about social media," or I am. They already they already chose a lane. Versus the creator's experience is for that person that is curious, and also for that person that's definite and saying like, "Hey, I'm tired of doing this. I've been saying I was going to do my own social media. I've been saying I was going to do my own podcast for a while. At this point, I'm done lying to myself.
Right.
And I'm ready to connect with
Right.
X Sounds. I'm ready to connect with whoever to help me get this thing and bring it to life."
And it can, and here's the thing, it can expand and affect so many people because the number of businesses that don't know how much they can learn from just taking a couple of pictures.
Yeah.
Uploading something on Facebook,
Yep.
uploading something on social media. Even in the world of psychology, there's a therapist in London that was taking little TikTok clips of herself just saying things that she would say to her clients, like motivational, positive things. It grew so big that she had to stop being a therapist because the TikTok videos, it was drawing millions of views a day.
Yeah, I was about to say.
So people were looking forward to those words of therapy, and it's just basically what she would say to a client. And it grew into a whole separate field in
life
business.
is your content.
And you never know. So I tell people all the time, you never know what this could change or how it could affect you. So don't be afraid to come out, check out Creator Summit.
Please. June 26th, 27th. We're going to be at Pedro's for the first day. And on the second day, we're looking at solidifying our a different venue, more accommodating to be a creative workspace. But the experience is going to be very immersive. Got a lot of different experts coming. We're actually going to be making a post to share all the speakers. I'm supposed to have done it today, but I was here hanging out.
Right,
but we're definitely going to post that this week. And you can follow us on Instagram to get more information at CreatorsTLH. And right now, the icon is yellow.
So you heard it here in our first episode of the Psychology of Creative Media. We got RJ here and Anuka Digital. The Creator Summit. You heard it. So we'd like to thank you for coming out and being a part of our first episode.